August 15, 1971, Sunday evening, White House. The time is exactly 8:30 p.m. Families across America are gathered in front of their televisions. They're expecting to watch a Western movie that evening, but what appears on screen isn't cowboys. It's President Richard Nixon. "Fellow Americans," he begins. His voice is calm but determined. What he's about to say in the next 18 minutes will change the value of every dollar in your pocket, make your gold meaningless, and mark the beginning of an experiment that will last 50 years. But the interesting part isn't the room where this decision was made. The really interesting part is the secret meeting held at Camp David 72 hours before this speech. Chapter 1. The vaults are emptying. Summer of 1971. The gold crates at Fort Knox are getting lighter every day. French President Charles de Gaulle had noticed something in 1965. America keeps printing dollars, but gold reserves stay the same. Mathematically impossible. On de Gaulle's orders, the French Navy anchored in New York Harbor. The ship's holds were empty. The purpose? To convert $150 million in paper money into physical gold. According to U.S. Treasury Department reports from 1965, a total of $55 million worth of gold was shipped to France that year, in steel-strapped, lead-sealed wooden crates, each containing 400 ounces of pure gold. But France wasn't alone. Switzerland, $50 million in 1969. Germany, $47 million in 1970. Netherlands, regular shipments every month. By August 1971, U.S. gold reserves had dropped to $10 billion. Meanwhile, the amount of dollars circulating worldwide had exceeded $80 billion. At the Camp David meeting, Treasury Secretary John Connally asked Nixon this question: if Germany and Japan both want to convert their dollars to gold tomorrow, what do we do? The room fell silent. The answer was clear. There was nothing they could do. Chapter 2. The temporary thing that's been going on for 53 years. Nixon said temporary on screen that evening. He characterized the departure from the gold standard as temporary. But Treasury Department internal correspondence from 1973 paints a very different picture. Returning to the gold standard would require bringing inflation below 3%. However, this means 8% unemployment. Politically unacceptable. In other words, a return was never planned. So what did this mean? Pre-1971, $1 equals 1/35 ounce of gold. Fixed, unchanging, reliable. Post-1971, $1 equals whatever the Fed feels like that day. Chapter 3. The invisible tax. Now, let me show you something. A McDonald's Big Mac in 1971, 65 cents. The same Big Mac in 2024, $5.69. Inflation, you'd say true. But actually, its real name is something else. Seigniorage tax. Every time the Fed prints a new dollar, the value of existing dollars decreases. This is the quietest way for the government to reach into your pocket. Without voting, without passing laws, without protests. Between 1971 to 2024, the US dollar lost 87% of its purchasing power. So the house your grandfather bought for $10,000 now costs you $76,900. Same house, same bricks, but the money evaporated like a ghost. Chapter 4. The Dutch lesson. America's present in the 17th century. The Netherlands had the world's first global reserve currency. The Dutch guilder. Amsterdam was the world's financial center. Tulip bulbs, silver brought from Latin America, and Dutch East India Company shares. All were bought and sold with guilders, until the Dutch started spending too much war with the Ottoman Empire. 120 million guilders. 80 years war with Spain. 250 million guilders. Defense of colonies. 18 million guilders per year. A note from the Dutch Central Bank archives dated 1781. The printing presses run non-stop, but the ships return empty. When the French army entered Amsterdam in 1795, the Dutch guilder became history. The British pound took its place. Now let's come to 2024. U.S. national debt, $34 trillion. Annual budget deficit, $1.7 trillion. Defense spending, $877 billion per year. The Fed's balance sheet was $800 billion in 2008. In 2024, $7.7 trillion. The Dutch pattern, same formula, same mathematics. Chapter 5. The real question, but here's the really intriguing question. Was this done deliberately? Let's look again at the minutes of the 1971 Camp David meeting. Participants: Paul Volcker, who would later become Fed Chairman Arthur Burns, Fed Chairman at the time. George Shultz, Budget Office Director John Connolly, Treasury Secretary. These names are the best educated minds in economic history. How could they not have foreseen that a temporary decision would last 50 years? Maybe they did foresee it. A 1974 CIA report contains this line: "The petrodollar agreement will create demand for the dollar, even without gold." Saudi oil could be the dollar's new anchor, and so it was. With a secret agreement made with Saudi Arabia in 1974, all oil sales began to be made in dollars. The full text of this agreement was classified until 2016. Closing. What does it mean for you? What Nixon did in 1971 closed one window, but opened a door. The gold standard died, but what was born in its place was an era of unlimited money printing, endless borrowing, and invisible taxation. Every dollar you hold in your hand today is part of an experiment that's been running since that Sunday evening, and the experiment is still ongoing. So what do you think? Was the 1971 decision an economic necessity or a deliberate system change? Let's discuss in the comments. Because before history repeats itself, we need to be able to see the patterns.